With all the madness from the Week 6 slate, Georgia finds a way to bounce back, collect themselves, hit the reset button, and beat Auburn. Final score yesterday was 31-13 in Athens, Georgia. What do we make of this one on the Georgia side of things? We'll talk about it right now. Make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Georgia Bulldog fans, I've had a lot of y'all get dialed in with us. We appreciate you for that. If you haven't yet, no time like the present to be subscribed. So here's the big deal from yesterday. Yes, there was madness across the college football landscape. I think if you were to zoom in on Georgia, the big takeaway for me, you did not allow Alabama to beat you twice. Because I think it would have been very easy to come back home. You got Auburn limping into town. They just had a heartbreaking loss to Oklahoma and really not play your best football. You just kind of overlook Auburn. You feel sorry for yourself. You think that you should just roll the ball out there and beat Auburn. And it's just like, hey, it was not going to be that kind of day. And I understand if you're a college football fan, you look at the logos, you see, man, Georgia, they're way better than Auburn. Hey, that spread 24.5 points. Like, yeah, Georgia should roll in this one. It's not how the game is played. It's not how this whole thing works. If Georgia did not bring their best to the table, and if Carson Beck went out and threw multiple interceptions yet again, Georgia would have been in a dogfight, no pun intended. Georgia would have been in a situation they were in a season ago when they went to Jordan-Hare. All right, so Georgia being able to hit the reset button here is, I think, the crucial thing to look at. When you talk about the actual game, and Georgia overall this year, to me, this is kind of my big takeaway when we talk about the Dogs, and maybe I'm just late to the party. Maybe I'm just married to the idea of Georgia essentially being the bully. I understand they've been a pass-first offense here for better part of the last couple of years. They've sort of become more of a run-heavy team as the year wears on, and maybe that'll be this team. But, like, with what they are right now, with what they don't have on the offensive line with Tate Ratledge out, I don't think that this is going to be a system-driven Georgia offensively, if that makes sense. Like, I think this will be a quarterback-driven Georgia within the system. At the end of the day, I think Georgia will go as Carson Beck goes this year. And, like, I'm not saying that Trevor Etienne didn't tote the rock in an impressive way yesterday. I mean, 2 touchdowns on the ground, had some runs that popped that made you say, okay, that's good news. Georgia, I think, this year, to get to where they want to go, they will have to lean on Carson Beck to be the catalyst, to be the power source for the offense. Because last year it was very much so Carson Beck within the system. You got Brock Bowers when he's healthy. You got Ladd McConkey. You got all these weapons to throw the football to. They still have weapons, but like Carson Beck, I think, has to be the tone setter for this football team. We saw it last week in the second half of the Alabama game. When he got fiery, when he got emotional, when he took that game by the throat, Georgia surged back and darn near won the football game. In this one, was he perfect? No. Was he efficient? Absolutely. 23 of 28. 240 and 2 touchdowns, no picks, the big number there. Good to see him bounce back. I think Georgia is at their best when he is firing and they're pushing the ball downfield. All right? Reason why? When that happens, changes the picture for the defense. They have to honor that a little bit. You saw safeties flying out. You saw linebackers having to honor the pass game. And what happened then? Big plays happen in the run game. Chunk plays happen in the run game. That's who I think they need to be here going forward. And quite frankly, if you're a Georgia fan, like, I think you're okay with that. Do you want to be balanced? Yes. I think Georgia will ultimately be a balanced football team. I'm not saying they're going to be a team that throws it 40 times a game here. It's not what I'm saying. But I do think you lean on your best football player, your player who in some respects could be the first quarterback taken in this upcoming draft, and say, okay, take us to where we want to go. We're getting on your back. We're a little bit dinged up. We got some weapons on the perimeter. Defense, I think we're in good shape. We'll talk about them in a second, but like, we're going to go as 15 goes. And he actually told us that at SEC Media Days. That realization sort of hit him last year in the Auburn game on the road. He's like, if I do my thing, we're going to be in good shape. I think that responsibility is in the same place on his shoulders, but I think it becomes a little bit heavier with maybe what they don't have around him, whether it be injury or guys left to the draft, guys that are still gelling within the system. Like, I think Carson Beck now is the, I don't want to say end-all, be-all, but he is, I believe, going to be, again, the tone setter, the catalyst. The reason why Georgia achieves their goals will be because of Carson Beck. It won't be because Carson Beck played well within the system. It'll be Carson Beck operated the system and was the one who drove the system, if that makes sense. Now, defensively, you allow 13 points, so it's hard to really have any super critical things to say about that unit. This was my takeaway from this game from Georgia. It's still a Georgia brand defense. They're still really freaking good. They're still one of the best units in college football. Heck, got to the quarterback, what is it now? 3 different times? You'll take that. Got after Peyton Thorne, applied a lot of pressure. Like that's a Georgia brand defense. However, there is still some things here that make you tilt your head a little bit and say, that's mildly concerning. You know, it's more so a symptom. I don't think it says Georgia is sick. Kind of what we saw last year in this game with Peyton Thorne having success running the football, with the perimeter run game giving Georgia some issues, with Jalen Milroe last week, with the perimeter run game from Alabama giving Georgia issues. And Kirby Smart addressed this in his post-game press conference and broke down the scheme as to why that was giving them issues and why they're having trouble essentially having destruction on the blocks against Auburn. At the end of the day, you're like, okay, we're not sick as a defense. That probably needs to be cleaned up. And here's the big takeaway for me with Georgia, man. Like, we say this every year about Kirby Smart football teams. This is a big reason why we picked Georgia to win the national title at the beginning of the season. They're going to play their best football as the year wears on. They're going to adjust. They're going to adapt. They're going to have their depth show itself. When everyone's wearing out, when everyone's starting to, plateau, I think Georgia starts to just climb and trend upward and play their best football. I'd be wildly surprised if that wasn't this Georgia team. In the loss to Alabama, as much as it hurts the resume, I don't know that you're thinking about that all that much when you get to December and you're starting to, hopefully, if you're Georgia, reel off some wins and make a run in that college football playoff. I'm just saying, the Alabama loss hurts. But I think that was probably, for a Georgia fan as well, factored into the realm of possibility when it came to your regular season. Hey, the Alabama game in Tuscaloosa, that's going to be tough. It's going to be a battle. Even if we lose that game, you probably said in August, we feel good about our chances to go make the college football playoff. Heck, maybe to win the SEC based on the chaos you saw yesterday, and to be right there in the mix when it's all said and done. But seeing them bounce back against Auburn, I'm not telling you Auburn's a world beater, but I am telling you if Georgia did not bring their best to the table, if they wanted to feel sorry for themselves and sleepwalk through this one, it would have been evident, it would have shown itself, and it would have made that game a lot more entertaining in the fourth quarter. Good to see Georgia impose their will and pull away there in the second half, and Georgia ultimately show that they are, in fact, Georgia. So, let me know what you thought about this one. Make sure you're subscribed. Get at me on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, @JDPakel. Hey, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.